Alright guys, welcome back. Joey again, Vegas Detect, and I've got some new stuff. Well, first of all, I hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and it's time to work out all that fat now, man, but it's time to jump back in and get with the business. So, trying to follow a flow chart, I'm going to go ahead and just grab one of these reports, and it concerns, you know, where we are in the hobby right now. Are we where we need to be, or are we lagging far behind? Now, a lot of these are just comments that a lot of my subscribers have left me, and they're asking me these questions, and they're good questions, man, and they need to be answered, and they need to be answered on a forum. They need to be answered on a video that everybody can hear the answers to, because these are questions that probably every, detectorist at some point is asking himself with the frustrations of buying new equipment and it not doing everything that you want. So, multi-frequency, the future. Why are we not there yet with the hobby, right? And, I've always had this adage that to understand where a hobby is going, you got to understand where it came from, okay? And I'm feeling, a lot of people have felt the same way, that we're not nearly where we need to be with the hobby right now, right? I mean, guys, look, we sent men to the moon in 1969 in basically what in today's day and age would be considered a tuna fish can, right? With the technology, with the computer technology, binary technology of a computer that's as big as my couch. This is the technology that we actually use to blast men off the Earth, send multiple missions to the moon, and to safely bring them back home, land them, and they're all living today. But yet, we can't ID silver, gold, aluminum correctly in 6 inches of dirt. I mean, why are we not there yet? I just don't understand what's taken so long for technology to advance. I mean, I'm watching Blade Runner right now, right? And Blade Runner came out in 1982, and in the opening credits it said November 2019, Los Angeles. And they were already anticipating that our cars should be flying by now. Floating anti-grav, anti-magnetic streets that allow the cars to hover. No need for, gasoline and stuff. Why are we so far behind, right? Why are we not able to accurately ID when you hit a target that it's silver, that it's gold, that it's aluminum? Why can we not? How many times, I know you guys are saying, oh, Joey, I know, we got VDI, we got tone. That's about as far as we've gotten right now. But how many times have you guys gone over a target and you're banging on a target, your detector's singing loud like it's a high tone, it should be in the silver range, and you're looking at the number and it says, hey man, we have high confidence that this is silver. Everything detects, everything is banging off, screaming silver. Good tone, good VDI, and then you dig it up and you find something that is less than stellar. Hell, you could find yourself 2 corroded pennies, man, that are welded together, and they will sing high for some reason like that, and you just dug a hole wasting time. Is there a need for a person to come to a park and dig 150 to 200 holes to come away with, a few dollars in clad and maybe some junk jewelry? Is really, in 2020, almost 2022, is that where we need to be? Well, guys, I just wanted to tell you, man, we should have been far beyond that by now. And the company that had this, I feel the company that had this technology on the cusp of breaking was White's, man. They fumbled on the 1 yard line with the Spectrum V3i. Now, I want to show you a couple of clips of what I'm talking about where that detector was. It was so advanced, bro. But the problem the problem being is that it was so advanced, it was actually too advanced. And I think the downfall of that detector was just that. Too many options and just too much complicity in the menu-driven icons. But boy, oh boy, did that detector have that uppercut punch that this community and this hobby needed. So let's watch that video real quick, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it.
When a target is detected, like your quarter here. First, of course, you're looking for a solid repeatable beep upon multiple passes. The spectrograph shows all three frequencies. The lowest spectrograph, or the bottom one, is the lowest frequency. Center frequency, the top one's the high frequency. Because the quarter is in the high range, you can see that fades the low frequency spectrograph fades the last, or lingers the longest. High frequency fades first, center frequency, then the lower frequency. You also see the depth in inches here, an icon of the likely target, and the VDI number. As you're pinpointing the quarter, slowly moving over the target, you can see that the quarter is strongest on the bottom bar, which is the lowest frequency, a further indication that that is in that quarter high silver range. Now on a gold ring, here on my white gold ring, if I go to pinpoint it, you can see the high frequency is the strongest, telling me that that's in that nickel gold range. On a brass type target, here we've got a brass target, the strongest pinpoint is the center frequency. The center frequency is strongest on your brass type targets. So low bar strongest on silver, copper, high-end targets. Top bar strongest on your gold type targets. Here you can see on my man's chain, much stronger on the top, high frequency. And then the center frequency strongest on your brass lead type targets. On a quarter, here's my quarter, you can see the analyze mode is color coded. Green is the lowest frequency, and it is strongest on the quarter. Again, your silver copper targets are going to come in strongest at your lowest frequency. Difficult bottle caps to reject are also going to give me clues in this analyze mode. You can see I've got dips at 2 frequencies there. That's definitely not a very good target. Even though it may give me a solid tone and a good quarter indication like a lot of the old bottle caps do, Analyze is going to show you, often going to show you that that's an iron target by not having your camel humps like you normally do. Most all of your good alloys will give you the better pattern, a more consistent pattern at each of the frequencies. You can see here again, nice camel humps at all 3 frequencies. And again, your trashy type targets tend to give you dips in your pattern. And the sizing is also, again, very significant. Again, on my large steel here, much bigger target here on this spread.
Okay, guys, did you look at how advanced that thing was? I mean, I'm not talking about the look and the layout, but I'm just talking about the technology that was available to you. Could you imagine us being able to utilize that in the machines that we have right now? I mean, first of all, the tones on that machine were pleasing. It was like polyphonic, you know, that boom, 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 like easy on your ears. No dying duck, you know, no bong bong bells, no clackety clack, annoying screechy, sounds like balloons rubbing together type of noise. None of that. It just had pleasing, bing bing, you got the tone. And then on top of that too, it had a beautiful color screen, right? And the meters, you see that, like when the guy ran a quarter across it, it just banged quarter. It showed exactly in inches how deep it was, not no arrows. It showed how deep it was, what the confidence meter said that it was, right? And a VDI number. All of that information was there. But not only that, did you see the meters? Like when it was running in multi, the meters would just shoot out and it would show you which one is striking the target the hardest. And you say, okay, look, boom. The bottle cap, when it hit the bottle cap, it did come up with a high tone, like that would be indicative of silver or a quarter. And it even said quarter with a good VDI and a good tone. And then there was another meter there that showed the camel humps, which you could flick to this one and go over it again real quick, and you just watch the humps. All 3 humps are congruent. That's a good target. And then when you saw that only one of them was good and the other two just like bent down, he said 2 out of the 3 frequencies that hit it says that it was garbage, and that would be indicative of it being iron. I mean, this was available in the V3i, man. That was just amazing, you know, that detector had that kind of technology. It has a whole lot more. We're not going to get into that, but what I am going to get into is, I'm going to read this thing off right here, is that it had integrated wireless. It was like all the other detectors out there were heavy as hell, and they had big long spiral cables, and this was like the first detector to come with integrated wireless. You know, it represented the future of metal detecting. You know, whites unfortunately never had the vision to see the original vision represented. You know, they dropped the ball. All of this tech that they had could have been done in a lighter package with a simplified face. Okay, so about a year before the Equinox was developed, okay, these issues were brought up to the head engineer of Whites, who at the time, his name was Carl Moreland. Okay, now this was brought up to Carl many, many times, and you know, Carl, he was not only the engineer, he was like the Steve Jobs of Apple. Okay, and people were telling him, look, they want a multi-frequency detector, they want the ability to choose single frequencies in a lightweight detector with a simplified interface. Does that ring a bell to you? Does that sound like anything that you know right now? But unfortunately, Carl had already left Whites, and he had moved over to First Texas. So, you know, when you're head of your marketing department and your lead engineer leave and go somewhere else, man, what was Whites to do at that point? They have a facility that they can make all this stuff in, but when the important aspects of your company pick up and leave like that, it leaves you with nothing. And this was already the decline of that company at that point. Carl never got a hint that there was somebody looming in the weeds, checking out what was going on, listening in on all this. And you know, they had this individual that was spying in the weeds, doing reconnaissance on what was going on here. They had a working prototype of this already in shop. They listened, and they took that, and they had a working prototype. And we all know what became of that. Probably one of the best-selling detectors ever made. Yes, folks, and I'm talking about the Equinox. That's right. Whites fumbled the technology. They did not take all of these things and bring it to fruition. Minelab just happened to be there and scooped up on all of this stuff here, man, and did everything that everybody wanted, and they put it inside the control housing, and the Equinox came out, man. You know? Yeah, man, to know where something is going, you got to know where it came from, you know? It said Whites had it first with the V3i. They had the full recipe, bro. All they had to do was take the proven concept and bring the design forward into the 21st century. Whites basically showed Minelab what needed to be done, and so Minelab did it instead of Whites. Okay? That's how come the Equinox was so badass. You know, when I first started with the metal detecting, and the first units that I picked up, they were in the dark ages. And I questioned myself, you know, I'm a DJ. I used to be a DJ for the longest time, and I worked in Las Vegas as a DJ. And the equipment, right, we're talking about turntables, right? And for the longest time, people just used turntables with records. The media has changed. People went from turntables to CDs to MP3s, no longer using turntables. Now they're using controllers in conjunction with the laptop. You can import your files, import your music. You didn't have to carry crates of records no more. Things improvised. And you know what? Many of these metal detector companies didn't listen. They didn't want to listen to this stuff. They didn't want to innovate. They didn't want to bring the technology into the 21st century. And you know, this is what happened. And this is the death of Whites. Whites not following up on the V3i will go down as one of the greatest missed opportunities in detecting ever. Yes, man. Whites had the opportunity to be the Apple of metal detecting. They had the engineering right there. In order to use that detector, you had to basically go to like a college course in metal detecting, right? The V3i was basically a programmable build-your-own detector. You can customize everything. Hell, just customizing the color and the user interface the way you want it was a whole book in itself. That's just how complicated the detector was, right? It said that the V3i never reached its full potential because it didn't have the ability to save and exchange programs. Initially, that was planned for it, and this right here could have changed the entire community, but they dropped it. They dropped that aspect of the V3i, and it never came to fruition. Okay, if people had the ability to save programs and trade them on the internet with one another, it says a programming subculture would have developed on the machine. Okay, now what do I mean by that? That said that every aspect of this machine could be customized. All right, but nobody wants to take the time to do that. The only way that you could actually trade programs was to fill out a page of settings for somebody so that they could key it into their machine, and it was just too much work. Nobody wants to do that, man. Okay, I'm trying to put it to you like this. Let's just say that your detector has two modes on it. It has the simplified version with the simplified menu, and then it had the technical side that you could program. Okay, what that means is you could actually pull up on your computer the entire program, and maybe not you, but maybe somebody that likes tech would sit down there and create their own program. And what does a person do? He just loads everything that he's worked on into this stick right here, okay, and then on your control box, you just open up the waterproof little flap right there. You plug in this little interface right there, and then on the user menu it says here for customizable input, and then it will extract everything off this disk of all the hard work that multiple people have in their own in their own customizable programs, and it sucks in all of that and it goes into user 2 or user 3, right? And then you pull the stick out, close the flap, it remains waterproof, and then you turn your detector on, go to setting, whichever user setting, and you pull it up, and boom, wow, look at this interface. This is a trip. It's like you have a brand new detector, right? And it has all of the customizable settings that this person spent a ton of time programming to get the right algorithm for you to go out there and you could just come back and say, yo, I tried your program, dude. It was so amazing. It did all this. It was great. Right? And then if you wanted to revert and go back to the factory setting of how it looks, like say you like the way the Equinox looks in its original format, then you would just go back to user 1 or factory format. Boom, you hit that and it brings back the whole interface of what Minelab sent to you out of the box. But you have the option of trading programs with people back and forth. Whites doesn't sell software. Whites sells hardware. But this would have driven detector sales. This would have driven, whatever detector they were working at. It would have never happened with the old Whites. But I'm hoping that somebody buys Whites and incorporates all of this stuff right here and listens. The last thing that we need, man, is another Equinox 800 clone. Look, the patents ran out with Minelab. The multi-frequency patent that they laid out, it expired in 2020. Hence, you've seen the Apex come online, and now you're seeing the Legend come online. Okay? So, they had a 20-year patent on their technology. It expired this year. Okay? So, you're going to see more action from many different companies coming online with their version of multi-frequency. People don't want to learn something, man. They just want to get out there and find, And many of the V3i fans will keep falling back on, oh, dude, if you would only have learned your detector, if you would have only taken the time to study and learn your detector. Dude, that's the problem right there, okay? People want to get to detecting and find stuff. They don't buy metal detectors so they can learn how to run the metal detector, okay? This one guy said that he has been selling metal detectors for over 35 years. He said never not once did somebody come in and say, hey, look, I really don't care about finding anything, all right? I just want to get a metal detector so I can study the manual, all right, and learn how to make the detector work. I prefer something very complex, okay, as ease of operation is the last thing that I want. You've never heard anybody come out there and say that, okay? But that's what happened with the V3i. They gave you everything everything that you could have ever wanted, customizable detector that had the future in it. But it was just so freaking complex, man. And inevitably, that was the fall and the doom. You could buy a truck with a 20-speed transmission, but the average owner is good with just an automatic. They're sold on the automatic, okay? The V3i can do just about anything if you could just learn how to make it do it. But in this day and age where people don't even want to open up and read a manual, that would never happen. And therefore, that detector would die. Alright? So guys, that's all I have on this episode right here. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for tuning in, Vegas Detect. I'll get back with you in the next episode. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you again. Take it easy.